lecture for the course. Unfortunately, in this lecture hall, we have a problem with the lights today, so we don't have lights on, but luckily the recording is working at least, and we can see the slides here on the screen. So I'm happy to present Atikur Rahman from Uniki Oy as our visiting lecturer. He's a senior user experience designer, and we will hear today about his experiences in the field. He has been working in many different companies and in many different projects, so I will hope we will hear about some exciting case examples of working in the industry. And please ask questions. We have some time at the end of the Atikur's presentation reserved for questions, so feel free to ask. Now it's a great opportunity to ask like how it is to work in the industry. And thank you all students who already proposed some questions for Atikur. And after the presentation we will have a short break, and then I will share you some tips to the final exam, so kind of summary of the whole course. But now I will give the floor to Atikur, so thank you for coming, and you may start.
Thank you. Thank you, Yari. Can you hear me, guys? Yes. All right. So, first of all, thank you so much, Yari, lecturer, and also my mentee, researching, who connecting me with Yari also. So, I'm very glad to be here today, and I was thinking of what I can basically share with all of you guys today, so that you at least get some benefit or understand the big picture of how product design work in different settings, like startup environments or the bigger company like Fortune 500 company and those kind of things. Fortunately, I have experience in both size companies, like the bigger settings and the small settings as well. But yeah, before starting, I would like to ask about your status a little bit. How many of you are already involved in product design industry professionally? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, sounds good. And how many of you are here today who is working as a developer in software company? 1, 2. Okay. Okay. The last one is, how many of you are involved in product design, not as a professional, I mean working in a company, but you have some hobby project that you have done so far, or the class project that you have worked with? I think most of you, right? Did you work as a product designer with some hobby project earlier? Okay, sounds like not quite many. But yeah, no worry. Let's start the discussion. So before starting into the actual agenda, just few words about myself. My name is Atikur Rahman. I came to Finland in 2017 as a master's degree student at University of Oulu, and I have completed my master's in software system and service development. We call it GS3D. And I also had a bachelor degree in computer science and engineering, and also 4 years degree in graphic design. So basically, my education is like combination of some sort of design background and also the coding background, like computer science and engineering and so on. So while my education background is a combination of design and coding stuff, I also pursue my career in similar directions, meaning that I work several companies, starting from local startup to Fortune 500 companies projects, sometime as a user experience designer, sometime as a front-end developer, sometime as a synthesizer, meaning that design and engineering collaborator. So currently I'm working as a senior user experience designer at Unity, where basically I had a chance to work with some local company in Finland and also the global company, as I said, like Fortune 500, some sort of Google-sized company. I'm very fortunate to have those kind of working experience. Okay. And I think many of you already sent me some messages in LinkedIn, and also like ADP list, where I basically provide some mentoring during my leisure time. And in the classroom today, there are at least one or two mentee who I have met in ADP list platform. All right. So the agenda that I was looking into during my when I got the invitation from ERE, that I was thinking like what I can present today, or what I can share with all of you, so that you can get some ideas based on my experience and so on. So I have put the list of agenda here, who we are at Unity, meaning that where I work today, and also how UX work in startup settings. As I said, I worked in both size company, and also like how my UX work in Fortune 500 companies and something like that. And another exciting topic is like AI in the modern UX domain, probably a short AI demo, like how the AI tools work, meaning that how I basically utilize the AI tool in my workflow and so on. And I know it's very challenging time finding a job in the industry, and I will try to share some insight how we can grow a little bit, and also like get your desired job in UX industry as well. Okay, starting with the little bit about my company where I work. So Unity is a Finnish software company started from Tampere, basically. So it's like founded in 2015, and one of the largest, fast growing company in Finland, based on probably Deloitte report in 2021 or something like that. And we have over 600 professionals across Finland, Sweden, Germany, Poland, and US. Basically, as long as we are consulting company, we have diverse project to work with. So most of them are there are many, but few very key industry area are like automotive industry, meaning that self-driving capability for car, auto parking for the vehicle, and those kind of things, and also like some sort of manufacturing company, and also like port and marine technology, meaning that this is the part I started working with FinTraffic a little bit, not little bit, actually quite many time. I work with a project called Port Activity Tool. It's basically a tool for reducing the carbon emissions for vessels, and also like tracking the activity in the sea level. And also it helps vessels to reduce the consumptions as long as it tracks the traffic control system and so on. So this is from FinTraffic that I have worked on, and there are some other projects like telecom and AI related. But currently I am working with some healthcare product. It is one of the largest company in the world in healthcare, which is McKesson Technology. So basically, McKesson has several products, but I work with Antada Health is one of them, which is basically connect between cancer patient to doctors. So yeah, we'll talk about bit later on this. But yeah, this is the company, a little bit about my company, but maybe we can start with my experience working with the small startup to Fortune 500 company. So I started my career as in 2010. Since then, as I said, working with the startup company is something like it is one-man army, meaning that when you are user experience designer, you really have to do a lot of things, meaning that you need to make fast decisions, you need to make direct impact to the project, and also like less research, more experiment type of things. I feel like starting career with the startup is really beneficial because you have handfuls of work. You can work different domain within the same company, within the same product. And in my experience, it's basically growing opportunity from starting. But on the other hand, from Fortune 500 company type of things, like where there is a big setup, large team, meaning that you have defined role. So you have particular things to do almost every day, but there is also good things here is you can be specialized in certain domain and so on. And also, whatever I'm talking about today is all about the user experience, meaning that, so in Fortune 500 companies or big companies, you need a strong, there is a strong research foundation, meaning that research team, and also like process driven, and sometimes I see in my experience, simple things, if I need to get approval or need to be implemented for the product, it requires a lot of process, meaning that I need to approve from my VP, Vice President of User Experience. I need to approve with the product person just to fix a simple things. So that's the structure of a big company where and also like you specialize more, collaborate widely, meaning that you are able to collaborate with different team within the organization. I feel like it's a good opportunity for connecting people as well. Okay, as said, probably you have been reading a lot of academic materials, a lot of frameworks, design methodology, and so on. But today, I just want to share my experience. So not any academic materials today. So I believe, let's see how I can deliver things. Okay, here is a picture for the contribution model in startup setting. So again, I'm saying this is not taking from any academic study, but it's completely my experience, the way I have visualized the structure of a startup. So usually there is a product owner for a specific product. As I said, like for example, FinTraffic project that I have worked on. Although it's a big company in Finland, like state company in Finland, but still the team that I work with is a startup settings, meaning that I was the only person as a UX contributor, and also we have the product manager, and also we have the dev or engineering team. So in development or engineering team, there is a backend developers, DevOps, front-end, and QA. On the other hand, UX contribution wise, I think it was quite, as I said, I was the one-man army, had to control almost everything, starting with the UX research, competitor analysis, looking into the existing research, hypothesis validation, design, collaboration with the developers and product owners, and sometimes, as I said, I also have a little bit of experience as a coder, and sometimes contribute to the front-end developments, meaning that developers are basically very logical person, what I found so far. They like to solve the technical problem. And most developers I find is they overlook the need of actual user as well as the business case. Therefore, in startup settings, honestly, I had to struggle a little bit to push them to understand the user need and also the business case. So this is how the startup settings work. You are working with the product owner, meaning that who has the control of the product, and also you need to work with the product manager, who is also instructed by the product owner, and also developers. Sometimes they try to make the domination. I'm not quite sure domination is the right word, but this is how the industry work in small startup settings. But yeah, good thing is I had also experience as a coder, and I sometimes could provide strong opinion and push them how the product should build. Starting with when I provide the design based on the existing research foundation, and start discussing with them why we need to implement this feature, why the design decision was something like that, and why it should work technically or something like that. All right, so moving into little bit, yeah, I promise not to speak about the academic area, but at least a little that I need to present here. In my experience, I have seen there are a lot of design method or methodology, and I find the Lean UX especially useful in startup environment, meaning that Lean UX is a fast and flexible way to design product instead of like spending time on long planning phase, and it quickly ideate the product to build. So in most cases, I'm not saying that this is the ideal way to go. It depends on the project. It depends on the requirement of the project and so on. But mostly, I have used this methodology for small feature development or starting with a new project and those kind of things. So it starts with the assumption, the first one, the top one. Declare assumption. It means that you have an idea and nobody knows how it should look, how it should function. So as a designer, you create, based on the assumption, you create MVP, minimal viable product, meaning that it could be some sort of low fidelity prototype, wireframe, or high fidelity prototype as well. And the third cycle of this picture, as you can see, run experiment. So you quickly visualize the idea itself, and you can run the experiment, meaning that you involve members, start discussing with them, get some feedback on that, like how you have presented your idea or visualize your idea as a form of product or form of minimal viable product and something like that. And you get feedback, you do the research, and the same loop goes again and again if you have time and like company or project has the budget to make more research and so that. But yeah, this is the ideal I find very beneficial in startup settings because it's very fast and it takes very less time than many other design methods and so on. But interesting thing is, throughout this startup settings work, I find while you start with the new feature or project, you will find something very interesting that people actually, when you start getting some feedback or early stage feedback, I find what people say and what people want are different. So, and people basically don't know what they want. So what need to do then? Any idea? Yeah, it's very interesting. I find actually people really don't know what they want, but as a designer, what I did is I make several versions of a product or several versions of a feature and ask them, do you like this? Do you like this? Then at some point, they, like the participants or the stakeholders who associate with the product or feature, they basically don't know how their product should look like. When they see this, then they say, oh, I like this. Oh, I like this. So something like that. So very interesting. And I feel like really people don't know what they want. So as a designer, you need to imagine, you need to think what needs to be provided for the.
Yeah, just a comment related, sorry, you can finish your sentence.
Yes.
But, yeah, but related to that, at least, I don't know if you agree or have even experience on this, but my understanding is that if you give people options, it's much easier for them to tell. Because if you give them A and B option, it's easier to say, I like A better because of this and that. But if you just give them one option and say, do you like this? Or what do you think about this design?
Yes.
Then it's much more difficult.
Yes.
But so giving options makes it easier.
That's what I'm trying to say, because people really don't know what they want. So if you have more options, they can say, okay, I like this, I don't like this. So in that way, you can collect very fast feedback so that you can evolve the product and so on. Okay, that was about the startup experience, and mostly the things I said so far, it was experience from FinTraffic project, like the port activity that I said. But yeah, now coming into another point is little bit bigger settings where you work with some sort of company similar to Google size or something. So due to the what it calls is NDA, I cannot show everything, but maybe some idea of the process of work, how we conduct the team and so on. Well, again, I'm saying the things you can see here, it is not from any academic research or not from any academic material. It's completely my experience and how I look the organization itself, or how I look the product itself, who involved, I mean, different department, different people who engage with the same product. So for the big company, as I said, it starts with the product person, meaning that it's a BP level person, meaning vice president or something. And under the vice president, there are a couple of teams. One is the product, engineering, UX, QA, and legal. And maybe there might have more, but this is what I can see is a big picture. So in product team, there is a product manager, not one, couple of them, and the business analyst, not one, couple of them, and also I put the legal under the product team because they work with very closely with the product team, just to define if the way we are working, the way we are delivering the product, they also need to legally verify it, starting from writing the content. And there are many things need to consider for that. And also like engineering team, it starts with the senior director level. Sometimes there is a BP for engineering as well, but consists of backend developers, DevOps, front end, and design library contributor. It's all about the code level. Yeah, as I said, this is not the single person, but I'm just putting the things here in the list so that you understand. So in engineering team, it might be, let's say, 20 engineers who is working with the same product. And also, I put the QA under the engineering because they also write some code, writing test script and so on. So the QA is also there. Now, the fun part is the UX contribution. So in a bigger setting, in a big company, how do you contribute as a UX professional, right? Usually, the company structure or the team structure start from senior director in user experience, and there was also managers in user experience, and also like lead, UX lead, and some designers as well. But in big settings, I see there is a specific person who specialized in design system itself, meaning that how the component is built, how they want to design the component so that it directly reflects to the product architecture and so on. And also there is a visual designer. What does that mean? Meaning that visual designer basically look into the visuals when we design a feature. So they see different. They look into the how it looks, honestly. And also like UX developer or collaborator, this is where I am. As I said, I have a little bit experience in coding, and it's easier for me collaborating with the engineering team and the design team. So I feel like it's a powerful role because as a designer, I know what designers are thinking about the product, and at the same time, it is very useful. You can understand that what design can be implemented and what not. Meaning that there is a technical difficulties always. So you design something and it might not get built because of the design complexity. That's why it is very important to understand how code works so that you can deliver the design which will be easy to implement without any concern and so on. So yeah, this is the structure of a little bit bigger size company, and the UX contribution is something how it works like that. But the good things is, I'm not quite sure it's a good thing, but very important things as a UX professional or design professional, I find that front-end developer is your best friend. Do you agree? Yeah. Because when you design something, when you deliver something to the developers, you need to collaborate a lot, the person who is working with the front end. So if you can make a good relationship, with the front end, it's a plus point for you. Yeah. Meaning that it's very important. If you can make a good relationship with the people you are working, it will be very easy to implement the things that you want to build. And remember, you are the designer, and developers is basically focusing on building the product and things logically, where you are the person who take care of the user, who take care of the business use case, and so on. It's very well connected with the business value and also, as I said, the user need. Okay, so next slide that I very simply put the things how we design. The process of how we contribute as a UX professional. What I'm talking about here is a big settings, meaning that we start with the UX research, right? And UX research is not done by just one person. We have dedicated team of UX researcher who is basically work for the research part. So gather insight and define the user need and provide recommendation, and also they sometimes provide the long-term and short-term goal. So that UX research can be done different way. I think as you are a student of this course, you already know different research method, qualitative, quantitative, and also like the interview and so on. So the first one is the UX research. So those departments basically work on the research part so that they can contribute their findings to the product and so on. And conceptual wireframing, meaning that once we get some insight from the research team, we understand the direction of where the product should go or how it looks like in the future vision and so on. So we create the design with the tool. I think the most revolutionized tool today is the Figma. I think most of you are using the same. And also for wireframing, brainstorming, the PIXAM. So we use basically Figma for this stage. So you are done with the research, and also you are done with some low fidelity prototype, some wireframing and so on. But this is not the end, right? There are many other processes, like we have design review, design critic, to get feedback and so on. Talking about the design critic, it's a team of designer, might be the whole organization, not the whole organization, let's say product-wise, there are 20 designers who participate in this discussion in the design critic session. And once we are done with the initial concept of wireframing or some sort of low fidelity prototype, here basically comes the expert evaluation. So within the organization, they provide feedback, they provide the insightful thought based on their understanding and knowledge. And then once we find some insightful feedback within the expert domain, we iterate the design and move into the next step. So moving into the next step is the design review session. So design review session basically consists of product person, engineering, and sometimes legal also involved in that discussion, and also QA. So in the design review session, we basically discuss the things like, is the current design is feasible technically? Engineering point of view. So engineers basically provide their feedback, meaning that we are involving engineers in early stage of design so that it doesn't confuse or it doesn't goes wrong when we basically start building the product itself, right? Sorry, it gets... Okay. We gather or we understand the technical difficulties, very extreme discussion with the technical team to understand the technical difficulties and the current state of the design that we have proposed to solve some particular problem and so on. Then it comes to the number 4, design system alignment. It is something like, as I said, in a big setting organization, basically the person, dedicated person who is basically taking care of the design system. When we present the design in design review or in the design critic, after that the design system alignment happened, meaning that the design system person look into the design very closely and see if the components that we are using within the design are the correct components. For example, you know the check boxes, right? and you also know the drop down. So in some time, we use the checkboxes so that user can select multiple options, right? At the same time, there is another component, right, called a drop down, which has multi-select capability. So when to use what, right? So design system is the guy. We are also, design system is the guy who take care of the which component to be used in certain feature. So here is a very small point. Checklists are, the checkbox are used if the option is less than, let's say, 10. So that you can use the checkbox in certain environment or certain feature. But on the other hand, you can use the searchable drop-down, which has multi-select capability, when the options is more than 10. So do you understand what I'm trying to say? Because checkbox cannot take more than 10 because it takes a lot of real estate in the screen. Whereas drop-down is a small component. User need to click to open the list of the things so that it doesn't take the real estate. So those kind of things like design system alignment happened. Design system guy basically look into the if the right component has been used within the product or feature. Okay. The number 5 is grooming. So once we are done with the design stuff, now it is time for pushing that design into the planning session. Basically, it is some sort of gathering where product engineering, again legal, see the design in the final review. So meaning that it's just before handing over the design to the development. If there is some feedback still or any technical difficulties within the grooming session, in my experience, I see mostly developer raise the concern of technical difficulties here in the grooming, and if it doesn't meet quite well with what engineering expect to build, so we had to go with another round of iteration of the design, and then goes to the design review and validation, and again coming to the grooming. So once it is done, then we provide the handoff file to the developments, meaning that, just a moment, I need to take some water. Are you guys boring? Are you all alive? Okay. So we are done with the UX research, we are done with the concept or wireframing, we are done with the design review and validation, also design system alignment. And the final stage, just before delivering to the product, is the grooming. Let's say we also got approval in that session. So every step is, as you can see, is come through approval, right? The people or team thinks that they are in the right directions and so on. And then it's come to handoff file. I would like to show you one example of handoff file, meaning that when we delivered the design to the development team, we provide certain instructions to them. The most important thing is the annotation. Also provide the interaction behavior, spacing instruction, which component has been used in the design, and also explain the business context. There are some bullet points in the picture. I put this as a intentional blurry image because it's my work, and due to let's say it might be the NDA issue. So just for visualization, as you can see the list of bullet in the picture, it is where we specified what is the design is about. I mean, what should be the interaction behavior here, and also specify the space, spacing from components to components or elements to elements and so on. So also provide the instruction like why we decided to move in this direction, because design is not something that we just create the picture. It serves the purpose and it solves the solves certain problem and purpose. That need for user and so on. So this is an example of handoff file, the way we provide it to developments. However, as you know that if you are experiencing with different tools like Figma today, there is a very good options is developer mode, right? So that somehow helped today, so that developers basically know what is the component is used, and also the spacing instruction, and also different style. Basically, Figma dev mode provides certain stage of code, some CSS code and so on. So that somehow helped them to understand. But still, it is our responsibility as a designer provide the detailed instruction why we decide to move with this direction, and what are the components we have built, and most important thing is the interaction behavior that we provide instruction here. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question. So as you mentioned that spacing, margin, padding, we defined in design handoff. So when we are designing a design system, there also when the design system teams design particular components, they also give these details, right?
Yes.
So I'm just assuming, what if we put our details in there in Figma while we are designing the design system?
Well,
how would
yeah,
it be
yeah,
different?
Risa, thank you so much for the question. Well, there are two things. One is the design system, and one is the product. So example that I'm showing here is like some small feature of a product. So yeah, you're correct. The design system has its own specification, own property, own style, right? But the design system is something that utilized to build a product. So design system consists of different component, maybe input field, checkboxes, drop down, text area, and many other components. But the thing is, when you are working with certain feature or product, you are utilizing the same design system to the product, right? Still, you need to provide, meaning that you are taking some component from design system to design a feature or to build a feature. And still, you need to provide the instruction, what component you use there. And when you are using, let's say, in the right side, as you can see, this is some sort of form, right? You need to specify how the spacing should work between the component to component. So that's what I'm trying to show here.
So basically what I understand is like design system is what is being used by the designer when they are using those components. And this is something which when we have designed a product, so what is happening between those components, like how much spacing is between two text boxes or
yes,
two radio
yes,
buttons,
you're correct.
or how much, what is the font between two of the components. These all are described in design handoff.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you're correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, great question. Thanks. Any more question? Yes, go ahead.
I'm fine. I just don't know if this one.
Yes, please.
Just a follow-up question. So,
You can put the mic in front.
Hello? Where was I going to? Because I forgot. One second. Because we're talking about. Oh yeah. So for example, if we use Figma and there are screens and whatever we talked about, like we need to specify all the details here before handing it to the development team. However,
Yes.
for example, if we use there are features on Figma for the development team to see all of that details already, then do we need to do these details
Okay.
manually?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you really don't need to provide all the instructions, but I'm talking about the company which has the large team, and it's very process-oriented things. So it's very important, and the team appreciate if you can provide the details of it. I know Figma today provides certain features that helps developer to understand the design itself, but it is not the one, because if you can provide some sort of interaction behavior, so Figma will not provide that kind of behavior itself. Also, the Figma will not provide the instruction for business cases and why you provide this kind of design. So in that context, it's okay. If you work in a small settings or a small company, you can just directly provide the design and maybe write something, and that would be fine. But the things I'm sharing here is a big organization, a big team. Everything needs to be specified because there are a lot of hierarchy of people, so that nobody gets confused. So yeah, that is the reason we provide a lot of instruction in the hand of file. Is that answer your question? Okay. Yeah. Another most important thing is the collaboration. So working with the developers, so we are done with the handoff. Now it is time for collaborating with the developers. So collaborate daily with engineers, developer, logical person, as I said, and when it start building, as a designer, not all the designers, but at least I collaborate with the engineers a lot, and I provide early stage feedback when they build something. I try to match with what I have delivered so far and what has been developed. In very early stage, I review the implementation itself and provide the early stage feedback. I feel like it's a very strong role because when a UX professional or design professional provide the green signal to the current implementation, usually there is a QA team, right? They basically test the feature or product itself. So in my experience, if I provide the green signal to the developers that, okay, the current implementation is in a good shape, you can move on. Usually QA don't make any defect tickets, meaning that when they test they don't only, they do not only test the design or interface itself, but the functionality as well. But I'm talking about the interface itself. So if you approved the early implementation, QA basically don't make any defect or on any concern for the current user interface. So as I said, it's a very strong role, because you are putting the value for the business, you are putting the value for the product itself. But one thing very important is here, be kind with the developers, because you are the owner of the designer, I mean particular product or feature, and it's very important to be kind with everyone. Sometimes some discussion or conversation goes into that like different direction. I know there are some developers here. Yeah, like some sort of Mickey Mouse type of things happens. But anyway, my suggestion is, and I also like to be very, very polite and kind with the engineering team as well. So as the last point I put here is be the designer devs enjoy working with. So that's what I can say at this point. Yeri, how much time I have?
I still have plenty of time. 25 minutes.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so now point is you done so far the collaboration. I mean, great collaboration with the developers, and design also build accordingly as you started. But how do you ensure that product performing well in the production environment? Does it meet the user need, or like I feel like once we are done in the initial phase of development and it goes to the production, I feel like nothing is perfect, right? It requires some follow-up, it requires some observation to understand the behavior of your current user, end user, and how you can fix them. So I have another slide of something like post-launch UX observation. I mean, as I said, it's a very important role, right? The UX role, because it is basically connected with the business value and how you enhance the product of organization, and so that it gets. I think you understood what I'm trying to say. So the first point, start. The code goes to the production, and in the middle, UX plus product follow-up. Here is the point, like as a UX professional, basically not only the UX but also the product people also make the follow-up for the production environment, meaning that how the product is performing today based on the first launch or the feature you have launched so far. We have analytics. So analytics tool like Google Analytics, but this is not the Google Analytics, but we call it Full Story. It's a different tool. And there is a collecting feedback, meaning that you could have some sort of feedback buttons to the product itself, so that registered user or the user basically can go there to provide their feedback about certain feature or product. I know it is very critical. People really don't want to spend time to provide your feedback, but there are many people they want to share their experience, either positive experience or negative experience, and so on. And then, like, another way is observing your first implementation is the usability testing. If you have chance to conduct some sort of session like usability testing session, where you invite some end user to get some early stage, not the early stage, but understanding the pain points, how the product is performing or feature is performing initially, and then you collect feedback on that. So this is the 3 points. I know there are many others way to make the follow-up or post-launch observation, but this is the very, very basic and 3 things that we basically are doing today, is looking into the analytics tool, which is Full Story, collect feedback from as I said, we have maybe a feedback buttons that provides user to provide their feedbacks, and the usability testing. So not limited to that. If you want, you can like introduce more methodology to understand or make the observation for your product or feature. Then it comes to UX enhancement, meaning that based on your finding through the observation in different category, then you get some idea like what is the problem of my current implementation and what people are liking, what people are not liking, or something like that. So based on that, you make some assumptions, and basically there are some other tool like that provide the heat map generation, meaning that where user is clicking the most. Let's say we provide the design, or we have implemented certain feature in a way, but we interpret it in a way that user should be clicking on that button very much, but it doesn't. So by the tool, there are some tool that generate the heat maps where user is looking into, or where the user is clicking into, so that you know what is happening today, and what they are interested in as well. So based on that, you create the UX enhancement. UX enhancement, create some sort of Jira story. This is the process of how we handle each and every single enhancement and so on, and push to the sprint planning meeting, and also like start once sprint planning is done and comes to the design team. So start designing in the same iterative process, right? The way I have showed you. So starting from some research, what is the pain point and what could be the ideal direction to go, or to solve certain problem that we find out through the observation. And it's a similar kind of process, goes to the design review, goes to the design critiques, and goes to the grooming session, and then we provide design to the handoff file to the development team. Yeah, as you can see, the last bottom corner, we provide to the dev. And again, same thing happened, UX QA, user experience, quality assurance, and engineering QA also happened. And the similar process it goes, and then again, it goes to the production, and the things basically again and again. So it's some sort of process of looping if you really want to make your product to be stand out into the market and so on. Yeah. In my understanding, design doesn't end after it launches, so it evolves. It's a continuous process and so on. So through observation, through feedback, improve continuously. So just my thought is design is for people, not for pixel. Are you guys boring? Everything good? Okay, nice. Okay. I personally interpret my feelings is that I really do not think that we just work for money, but we are changing the lives. So the product that I am working on is basically connecting cancer patient to the doctors. I really had very good feelings about my contribution to the product itself. My feelings is something like I'm not just working for money, but also contributing to the world that making the world better. So it is something like impacting lives. So that's my feelings, to be honest. Okay, so the next point, do you have any questions up to this point? Yes, go ahead, please.
Can you turn the microphone? Yeah.
you mentioned about two different kind of design team setup or like company setup related to UX. I wanted to ask that are there in Finland, are there companies are there like big companies, corporation like, but still the design team setup is like a startup like, and where the designer do everything? Because I ask that because we have that in my home country, although the company is large and it's a big corporation and everything, but the design team is still like a almost like a one-man army.
Yeah, but what is your question? I didn't get quite well. Would you mind?
Do we have a company like that in Finland?
Or did I work like that company? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean like the
Oh, again, maybe I got your point. Yeah, plenty of them, yes. I think there are a lot of companies who has one designers in a team, meaning that one-man army. If my interpretation is correct, is the 40%, around 40 to 50% startup or medium-sized team has this kind of settings, like one or two designers working for the product and so on. So is that your answer your question?
Yeah. Then the following question is, would it be more likely for someone like us to beat the company more like a startup like or a corporation like? I ask that because I want to know, should I prepare myself as a more specialized person, or should I prepare myself as a more like a general?
I see. I think it's very good question and tricky at the same time. Opportunity-wise, I would say it helps me to become a generalized first, because this is how I started my career. Because a small company, small settings, a small team, they look into the person who can handle the multiple tasks. So starting with the design background, meaning that you can make the prototyping, you can make the wireframing, you can do some research as well. At the same time, if you have some coding experience, so that you can also contribute to the development. But yeah, it's very rare that a people with expertise in all domains. But if you know something, that will enhance your possibility to get your job, at least in the small startup or medium-sized company and so on. But in a bigger company, it's very important they look into the certain specialty, like how you are special with certain domain. It could be the front-end development specialist, or the visual design specialist, or UX research itself, and so on. So is that answer your question? Okay, good.
One question.
Yeah, sure.
In your experience, do multiple teams like legal and engineering have some idea about accessibility, or do you usually have to advocate for that as the UX team?
Brilliant question, I would say. Yeah. I think in today's world, I think most teams at least know the basic of accessibility, what accessibility means, who are involving with the product, because it's a very important topic today. I don't exactly remember how many persons are disabled in the world at this moment, but it could be near about 2% or more than that. Or so, like, meaning that it's a huge amount of population who is disabled, who is relying on keyboard interaction, who cannot operate the mouse and so on. So accessibility definitely an important topic in this area, but I suspect the legal, product, engineering, they have at least the basic understanding of accessibility. And as a UX professional, I am also certified accessibility specialist. So I am the person who need to take care of the components we are designing, the feature we are building is accessible for the users and so on. So I would say initial responsibility is the designer responsibility. At the same time, developers need to know what accessibility is, meaning that when they are starting developing certain feature, they also need to make sure that, okay, keyboard interaction works, right? But as a designer, you need to make sure, you need to inform the developers, okay, the keyboard interaction is not working, the tab or escape key is not working or something like that. So, is that helps? Okay, thanks.
There is one question.
Yes.
Thank you. So there is one question online, but before moving to that, I would like to answer your question as well. So back, I was also working as a front-end developer. So there are few teams who are being informed by about accessibility. So when you work as a front-end developer, you have to add certain keywords and to make your design accessible. So yeah, few teams are aware about it. So coming to the question is by Kishore, heat maps and CTR can be applied to the website analytics, but how can you do the analytics in cross-platform mobile app?
Okay, that's a good question, but would you mind I come to the question session a little bit later?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah. Here is that okay? I go to the Q&A because we have maybe too much time. Yes, yes. So the next exciting thing is the UX and AI. How basically. So I write a question here. Will AI change your job or replace you? I just wanted to ask all of you, what do you think about this AI?
At least sometimes I feel it can, but sometimes I feel it can't, because it can not understand the user as we human can.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point.
But anyone else want to answer?
Anyone else have any thought about this question? Yeah, I think this is very known question to the professional platform like LinkedIn, and I also get similar question from many students, many designers as well. And my feelings is that yes and no, both, because AI can do a lot of things today. So if AI can do a lot of things today, which was not done before, but by the human, meaning that at least some percentage can be eliminated. That's what I can think in general. So today's AI world, in the like UX and AI platform, AI can do the UX research faster. It can generate idea even faster and validate with data, which is already exist in the industry and so on. And also it can analyze user feedback, automate usability testing, and predict user behavior. So this is just few bullet points I put there, but this is not the end. They can do even beyond that. That's what I can say at this point. So in my workflow, I use at least these 5 tools today. One is the UX Pilot. Did you use anyone use the UX Pilot before? Okay, so this is one tool that basically quickly iterate or design your ideas and so on. And Busily, which is another tool, basically for the same purpose, creating early stage design to get started. And Attention Insight, I really like this tool, which is AI tool. It basically generates the heat maps, predict the heat maps, meaning that you provide some design to this tool, and this tool will analyze or predict where user will click the most. So very important things, meaning that it creates some sort of heat map things. So before even developments, getting a lot of user to be able to interact with your product, this tool basically can give you some idea, early stage idea about where user can click the most and where cannot. So something like that. Very interesting tool. And also the number 4, Copilot. I think you are familiar with this as well. For interview recording to analyze and summarize the interview so that I can get, when we conduct some sort of interview with someone, it basically summarizes the things and give us the quick to-do things for the product and so on. And also everyday use ChatGPT. I think you all know the capability of ChatGPT today.
Yeah. Quick
Yes.
practical question. At the first 3 on the top, do they cost to use? Or are they free, any of these?
Yeah, actually, UX Pilot, Busily, both are, yes, paid, but there is a certain credit limits that you can use for free.
Yeah.
I will basically show you a demo of it. So how UX Pilot works today, I just wanted to show you how that can evolve in your design process. So you just write a prompt, and AI will create some design, take those design to iterate and validate with the use case that you want to build, and also align with your need and follow the similar design process, iteration yourself and so on. But the UX Pilot can make some design. So I would like to show you some quick, let me go with that. So I will copy, here is an example of prompt that I just wrote for, actually I didn't write it, it's also AI generated just for you. So let's see how, here's the UX Pilot and how we can use this, right? I just copy the prompt. I'll go to the, let's say, what is the prompt about? Patient appointment system. Let's say this is health app, and provide context. I put that prompt here, and let's see what happened. It's a free feature, but I don't know it will be able to create, but I suppose yes. Okay, so I put the prompt here, and let's see what it does. It's generating, right? Just it takes some time because it is creating a lot of visuals based on the prompt that we wrote and so on.
Will this create just like the still images of the UI, or is there some interactivity like in
Yeah, let's see. Is the internet slow? I think it should work. Okay, let it generate and we can continue. We'll back to here because we have less time, and Yeri, I'm sorry, I need a little more time to finish up my. Okay, so we write the prompt and we'll see what happened. And yeah, like the last things that I just wanted to provide some context. I know is a very important for all of you who has been studying but finding job in UX industry is very little bit challenging. In my understanding, so it's a very challenging but at the same time rewarding field, and build trust is most important things that like is strongly connected with the business value. So I just wanted to quickly finish up this, like apply as much job as you can and keep track of where you applied. So in the right side picture, it was my my list of application where I applied to get my first job in Finland, and provide the context of where I failed so that I next go to that and emphasize where I failed and how I can be succeed and those kind of things. So reach out to the right people, meaning that when you applied for certain job, maybe you can reach out to through LinkedIn and so on, and show some of your work if possible, and continuously refine your CV and cover letter. And most important thing is polish your portfolio. So problem statement, the portfolio should include, certain case study structure, starting with the problem statement, overview, design process, outcomes, learning, and future direction. So I just put those bullet points, but that can be another big lecture, how your portfolio can be developed or built. So analyze feedback and learn from the rejections. That's what I show this picture, meaning that you need to analyze where you apply and why you did get failed, and in what place you need to put attention to improve yourself. And I would say during the interview call, stay natural and authentic so that employer trust you a little bit. And be patient. I'm sorry, I had very less time to talk about this because we are out of time. But be patient and wait for the opportunity. So thank you so much. That was about today. But let's see if something is happened. Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, it creates only one screen. Maybe during the generation, there is an option, how many options the tool should build. I need to define so that they can provide multiple options of it. So how the AI tool build it? It says, good morning, Sarah. How are you feeling today? Book appointment, video call. The prompt was about booking appointment for a patient to the hospital or doctor place. So he created something like this. But if you had more options, they could create multiple option of it so that you can see which option you want to take for iteration to meet the business need, to meet the use cases. Okay, so need to finish up now, and just quick questions that I have got, but few answers that I would like to put. Thank you so much, everyone who put the early questions to me. And the first question is, there are plenty of many questions that I should be answering, but maybe at least few of them. How should the interface guide operate when something goes wrong? This is very important topic, and I like this question, honestly. Recently, we have built product which is not the product, but the feature for cancer patient can provide their information before visiting to the doctor, so that doctor knows that the condition of the patient in early stage. So I think the error handling process should contain three important steps, which is the visibility guideline, And the second thing is communication and also like action point. Visibility guidelines, meaning that when certain error happens, as a designer, you need to provide that kind of capability of understanding where the error happens, meaning that you need to provide some instructions to the user close to the where error happens, and also clearly communicate with the users, I mean, how they can get rid of that error, meaning that maybe it might be certain form or it might be certain field and so on. So coming to the next question, since you are working in different fields in healthcare, transportation industry, and what your approach to pick up domain knowledge and okay, I believe UX fundamentals are similar, and if you have the basic of it, you can implement your knowledge to any domain you want. But what I did is basically try to learn existing materials to the product or the team or the company, and try to get involved as many meetings as possible so that I get more knowledge fast and so that I can contribute. Yeah, so I will be sharing the slide with all of you. Not going to explain all of the questions today because we have very less time. But unless you have any burning questions now, this is the end of my session today. And thank you, everyone. And thank you, Yeri, for having me here.
Thank you, Atikur. Yes, it's always like this. I wish we had 1 more hour because this was excellent presentation, and thank you for sharing those really nice examples of how the design process goes in different sized companies. I found this really interesting, and also learned many new things. And so, as you said, you will have the slides. I will add them in the Moodle in a day or two when I get them from you. So, and thank you for also writing the answers on the slide to some of those questions. And
yes,
I guess it's okay if students want to reach you out. You had your contact information there.
Yeah,
yes.
That's why I put my contact number, LinkedIn, and the email. Feel free to contact me. And I am based in Helsinki. If you guys go somewhere in Helsinki, especially in weekend, so that if you want, we can meet and maybe some UX coffee at some point. So
great. So you will get tens and tens of invitations for coffee from now
sure.
in the coming weeks. Okay, thank you so much. I'm afraid that we don't have time for break because we are running. Well, no use checking that. I will need the microphone from you, and thank you so much for attending. And yeah, please send the questions for Atikur if they weren't answered today. Let's switch. You can unplug your. Yeah, I will need it. Let's switch places. So yeah, I have some slides for some tips for the final exam. Can I if you can sit down there where I was sitting and just switch. And your phone. So just a summary, quick summary of the whole course in 10 minutes. So basically topics that will be in the exam, and these are not all, there will be others too, but these are kind of tips that at least these will be there. And there will be randomized questions basically in the exam, so it is also up to your luck like what will be asked. But multi-choice questions and then some essay questions. And for the essay questions, there will be like 2 options and you choose one, and then you get other 2 options and you choose one to answer. And all the other questions are like truth or false, or you choose one option from, I guess, four different options. Yeah, but just quickly, well, I'm not going to read this because we are short out of time, but just a reminder of the learning objectives for this course. Basic principles of cognitive psychology, interaction design, system analysis, information architecture for simple website, and basics of interaction design and so forth, and also doing some graphical design using Figma tool in this case. Yeah, but just a reminder, the basics or the basic terms and definitions. What is human-computer interaction? So study of interaction between people, users, and the computers, also called human technology interaction. So what happens between there, and cognition is the mental process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. And then this picture, so the main parts affecting the user experience are the human, the product, and then the context of use where the interaction happens, and there each of these has different aspects that can affect the experience that people have when interacting with technology. And then you should know that there are different users, different people are different, and they have different characteristics you can focus on and understand. It's just not one gray mass of people, but if you want to focus on some target user group, you might want to learn about what age group are we, what gender, cultural background, and how do these matter when we are designing for these specific user groups. And doing the user research to learn about these. Or maybe utilizing AI today as one tool also, if you don't have access to the people actually. Yes, and then the context of use matters, so you can't determine the human technology interaction absolutely during the design, but you need to usually go to the context of use, and there are different elements you can focus on when you're describing the context of use, like the physical context, social environment, what tasks there are, what is the technical context, and so on. So different ways to define the context of use. Then very important basic design process, the human-centered design process, definitely good exam question. So planning the human-centered design, starting with understanding the context of use and specifying it, then specifying the users and organizational requirements, then starting producing different design solutions to meet these requirements, and then evaluating the design against these requirements and iterating this process where appropriate. And then you are happy when the design solution meets user and organizational requirements, and then you are ready to launch. Then some basic principles from human-centered design. These are all, and the previous one are the ISO standard. We have referred many times in this course. So the design is based on explicit understanding of users, tasks, and environments. Users are actively involved throughout the design and development. Design is driven by user-centered evaluation. Its iterative process addresses the whole user experience, and also multidisciplinary team is required with different skills and perspectives to make the design work. So it's collaborative effort, in other words. Right. Then, this is kind of summary of how to do these different lectures related to these different aspects. So the user needs and evaluating were the first, the lectures from 0 to 2. And then lecture 3, 4, and 5 were more related to the actual design on different levels. And then the last lecture was about evaluation a bit. We didn't touch that otherwise in this course, only the theoretical aspects of the evaluation. So there were some examples of usability evaluation methods. And also remember to look at the self-study modules and look at the weekly exercises, what we did there, to remind you there are also content for the exam. And then lastly, some short summaries of each lecture. So kind of like the main points, but please also read the lecture and follow the lecture slides. But just the main pointers and tips for the exam. So lecture 1 was about user needs research. So users' needs and characteristics of the context of use should be identified when you start the whole design process. You need to define the target users and involve them to the user needs studies. So, like, you need to identify, define who are the target, for who are you designing first, and then also, of course, involve them to the design process. Interviews and observations as a good methods, so for solid understanding of user needs and provide qualitative data. And then personas and scenarios were mentioned as one way to put this user data together and also communicate it to the development and the whole development team, basically, so that you can stay focused on the real user needs. Lecture 2 was about the analysis of this data. So after we have collected the data, what do we do with this? All the notions from and the feedback from the users, like interview questions. So you should consider this already before you start collecting the data, that how are we planning to analyze this data. So it's also part of the planning of the research. And you need to understand the different kinds of studies and test settings. These were presented in the lecture. Choose justified analysis method based on the study requirements, what are the aims and settings and data types. And then how do you report, or for who are you reporting, and what type of reporting you make from this data? Is it like a scientific audience, or is it like an executive summary, just a brief summary of all the main points from the data? And again, here the personas, as mentioned, as one example to share the findings for the different stakeholders. And we also practiced creating some personas, and you have done this for your team assignment. Then lecture 3 was about emotions and experience design. So there were many topics mentioned. For example, models of emotion that help understand and analyze feelings. Good notion that experiences are always subjective. You can't design an experience, but you can aim to provide an experience for the user and hope that this is what they will get when interacting with your design or service. Experience-driven design, Hassen's model for user experience, about these pragmatic and hedonic qualities, and then designer's perspective and user's perspective, how do they differ, and aiming to kind of bring them together like the designer aims. They have their own mental model, how it works, and they try to explain that to the user, and hopefully they will get the same mental model. And if they are aligned, then the user experience should be more positive. Yeah, lastly, emotional design was presented as a way to connect the product on multiple levels, practical, emotional, and meaningful. Then the next 2 lectures were more about the practical design. So first lecture 4 were about interaction design, and some bullet points here. You should be familiar with different design principles, interaction dimensions, what is information architecture, and there are different examples: wireframing, hi-fi prototyping, developer documentation, and then examples of navigation, different ways to do design navigation and in different contexts. Hierarchical matrix, sequential navigation, and so forth. And then we continued the visual design on lecture 5. Again, some topics to be aware of for the exam. So different design elements, design principles, like what are design principles? That's an exam question. You should know the answer. So guidelines for deploying design elements effectively. And then it's good if you can also show some example of the principle. How do colors and typography work in design? What's their meaning there? Why should we care? Should be aware of this. Target user variation. And then user mental models, this was already mentioned in the previous slide also, so that you should align the design with the user's expectations. And users can base their mental models, for example, on their previous experiences with similar kind of services, for example. So if you support this kind of learning from previous experiences, it can help taking the service into use. Right, then the last lecture with the new content was this design drivers, dark patterns, and usability evaluation methods. So what are design drivers, factors that motivate the design process? Then I mentioned the fuzzy front end, so the beginning of the design process is this kind of fuzzy. You're not quite sure what to do, and it will clarify itself as the design goes on, and you will focus the design from these multiple ideas your team might have or you might have at the beginning. Then what are these dark patterns or deceptive patterns? Many names for these. So UI design elements that comprise user autonomy by preventing informed choices. This is one definition for this term. And they modify the user's choice architecture, modifying the decision space or manipulating the information space, for example. And then it's good to know, I had the one slide about these different dark patterns that have been kind of categorized. So it's good to know what they are, giving some examples of these. These can be asked in the exam. And then the second part of lecture 6 was about these evaluation methods. So at least the theory you should be aware of. So aiming to find the different solutions, or like evaluating if the design solution meets those user needs that you identified before, like doing the user research part at the beginning of the design. And goal is always to improve the design somehow. And then there are many different methods that were mentioned there. And the differences, so you should know like what kind of methods there are for that involve users in the design, and then there are these expert evaluation methods when you don't have access to the end users, but you can ask experts to do the evaluation, like heuristic evaluation, for example. And then there are different environments, like the controlled settings in laboratory or doing the evaluations in the field. What is the benefit of doing it in the laboratory in the real environment? Why should we do this? So you should be aware of these benefits, and also how do they limit the data that and for example, the validity of the data you can get. Yes, and then what are qualitative, quantitative methods? What is the difference there? And how they can also be combined. Yes, and then don't forget those self-study modules and weekly exercises. They have also topics and are involved in the exam, so there can be questions from these content too. Right. So that was the quick sum up for the topics when you are reading for the exam. So good to start with these. And best of luck for the exam. And also for this week we will have the prototype presentations on the Thursday. I checked now that the Thursday groups, they at least had 3 free slots, both of them. They were quite full. Friday morning group that was cancelled before, nobody was there. So if you can come there. And then the Friday afternoon had many free slots. So still there are room in all of the weekly exercise sessions. So if you want to present there, which of course I would prefer, would be nice to see. And we and Richa will be there, and very excited to see your designs and then give you some feedback. Okay, any questions before we finish? We have in principle 6 minutes left before the next class will barge in. Did you have any burning questions for Atikur at this point, or about the exam or the course practicalities? Yes.
Yeah, about the electronic exam, how stressful is it to sign up? Should we do it right now to set a date? Because it could be booked
Yeah.
in a week or?
Yeah, thank you. Good question. Yeah, of course, now that there's the exam week, so there will be quite hectic, but for this course, you have time until the end of the month. So I put a really long time there, so you should find a free slot, but of course, then the next courses are probably already running if you leave it very late. So the booking is now open. I sent a message, I think you got it from the Moodle, so you can now book the exam time and start checking those like free slots that are there. There are rooms in Central Campus and in Hervanta both. I don't know how many rooms there actually are, but there should be plenty of times. But yeah, definitely it's more hectic now on the actual exam week, but after that you have time to do the exam if you want to do it later. Yeah, thank you for the question. Okay, if no further question, thank you. And yeah, we will be seeing you in the weekly exercises this week. So see you there. Thank you. And thank you, Atik, one more time for being with us.
Thank you so much.